ego and self. Ego's afraid of change, y'all. Ego's afraid of change. It hates it when your true self tries to step out. Your self wants to evolve, speak the future, chase its call, while your ego wants to protect. Your ego wants to stay the same. Your ego stops you from evolving. What's up, y'all? Guys, it's 3:05 a.m. As of the time I'm recording this right now. And so you're probably asking, why is Trevor recording this? He has that silky smooth, deep, very white voice in the morning. Y'all, I'm recording this because I'm on the way to the airport. So this is my first business trip in a little over a year. Crazy excited about it. Been on a couple family trips since the pandemic started. Lots of traveling around Oregon. We just got done with a trip to Hawaii as a family, and another trip to a water park up in Washington. It was awesome. And so now I'm heading to Charleston, South Carolina for my annual mastermind. And this mastermind I've been hosting every single year since about 2009 with my former business partner, Patrick Riddle. And the coolest thing, y'all, and this is going to relate to this episode here. This episode is a life truth episode, and it's going to be on something called ego and self. Ego and self. But as I'm heading to this mastermind that we've done every year except for last year, since 2009, I'm really thinking about and reflecting on what's happened with this group of about 15 people. There's been a core 6 to 8 people that have been in this group the entire time that we get to see each and every year, follow each other, how we've grown, our families, grown as individuals, grown as people, grown as in business for over 12 years. It's been really cool. And I think about the people we've become, not the things we've done. I think about the way we've individually grown, the goals that we had 10, 12 years ago, that for many, if not most of us, we already surpassed those someday goals that we thought we would hit. And we did it together. And this is the thing I'm the most proud about, y'all, is that group really doesn't have ego. There's just really not much ego in that group. And so let me read this self-truth from the book War of Art. This is the last self-truth from that book in this series. If you're just now picking up the Carrot Cast, this is the first Carrot Cast you've listened to. This is a Trevor Truck Talk, just my musings about business, life, entrepreneurship while I'm driving my truck. This one happens to be on a trip. And this is from the book War of Art. Ego and self. Ego is afraid of change. It hates it when your true self tries to come out. It hates it when your true self tries to step out. Self wants to evolve, speak the future, to really chase its call. Okay, so let me read this again. Ego and self. Ego's afraid of change, y'all. Ego's afraid of change. It hates it when your true self tries to step out. Your self wants to evolve, speak the future, chase its call, while your ego wants to protect. Your ego wants to stay the same. Your ego stops you from evolving. Okay? And as I think about this group of people, Daniil Clayman, good buddy of mine, known him ever since he very first started online. And ever since he very first started in real estate, now he's managing $30 million worth of projects right now. Of property that he owns, and he owns more property than that. And that's just how many projects he's got going right now. And he owns a 7-figure business. And my former business partner, Patrick Riddle, Patrick has evolved a ton, and his ego has really taken the back seat. He went from the front of the camera, the influencer, to completely the back of the business, growing an 8-figure company. Really taking over the business that we grew together and building it bigger than we ever could have grown it together, because he stepped into his true self. He stepped into not having to take the glory, but into what really gives him joy. Or Doug Faith, my good friend, known him since 2008. And he actually stepped out in front of the camera a bunch and became an educator, but he realized that's not my true self. He really enjoys doing the deal, not teaching the deal. He wants to help people become financially free, but not really through education. He wants to have it happen through actual real estate. And so I invest my money with him. We're building an apartment complex right now that I own a part of a big apartment complex. And we have a 16 housing unit development that's being built right now in Philadelphia. And they have a big private lending company. And the coolest thing is how he's become an amazing father. He's just one of those guys that I can reach out to, and we pick up exactly where we left off, even if we didn't talk for 5-6 months. And he's just an amazing, amazing guy. And I can keep on going down the list with this group of people. Rob Swanson, and just the list keeps on going. Tim Bratz. He owns over $300 million in multifamily real estate now. Guys, Tim Bratz, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Tim. He's the multifamily guy. But guys, Tim Bratz was one of our first customers, one of my and Patrick's first customers. We have a video with him going way back as a case study, sitting on a front porch of one of Tim's very first ever real estate deals. It was a wholesale deal that we taught him how to do, that Patrick taught him how to do, actually. I created the training and education that got in front of Tim. And now Tim is really amplifying that impact and helping thousands and thousands of people become financially free while he's building a $1 billion portfolio over the next 5 to 10 years. And the cool thing is, y'all, ego is not driving it. And here's the reason why, like I said, ego actually doesn't help you advance, like this quote says. You might be letting that bounce around your mind and say, well, how does this apply? Like, how does ego really hold me back? How is ego the enemy? I don't know if you guys have ever read the book by Ryan Holiday called Ego is the Enemy. Okay. And Ego is the Enemy talks about this same concept, that ego is not something that advances. Ego is not something that drives forward. Ego is not something that drives progress. Okay. Ego is something that protects. Ego is something that's afraid, like this quote says, of advancing a cause. Ego's afraid of taking that chance. Ego's afraid of other people doing well. And if you ever start to see your ego crop up, it probably crops up and manifests in ways where you're actually trying to make yourself feel better or look better versus those around you. Okay, ego is you're sitting there in the mastermind and you're worried about your mastermind presentation, or you're sitting there at Carrot Camp and you're worried about your presentation because of what people are going to think about you, versus worrying about how much value you can add to the group and what pains and opportunities they have, and tailoring it to that and saying, you know what, I don't care what people think about me. I just want to know what their pains and opportunities are, and give them as much value as I possibly can so they can win, not so they can see how cool I look. And I've been caught up in that. I've been caught up in that before. You guys who have been listening to the podcast for a long time have heard me talk about the masterminds that I've been in over the years. And one of my favorite ones that I've been in for 3 or 4 years is Russell Brunson's mastermind, his Inner Circle, which is on pause right now. But that's one of my favorite ones, because you get in this room and you're in this room with people like Alex Hormozi, who has a company that does $30 or $40 million a year, and he just started a few years ago. And we saw him and Layla start this company. We saw them literally sleeping in their car, going around the country helping to start gyms. And then they completely shifted their business model. They completely shifted the way that they showed up in life and as leaders. And within 3 years, they hit the $30 million a year mark. And this doesn't happen from ego. They would show up to this mastermind in the exact same car that they had before, the beat up car. They would show up to this mastermind very unassuming. They'd show up to this mastermind clearly knowing they didn't know everything. They'd show up to this mastermind inquisitive and wanting to learn and sharing what they're learning, but not from a point of I know it all, a point of, hey, I've figured a couple things out and this might be able to help you. And that mindset is so powerful. It's so powerful when ego takes the back seat. And so I'm going to wrap up this episode here, and I want you to think about a few things. I want you to think about ego and self. I want you to think about, where is your ego actually preventing you from becoming your true self? Where is your ego actually stopping you from advancing in life, in your marriage, in your relationships, in business? as a leader, income-wise, with your goals. And I'll kind of wrap it up with my very last ego and self right here, okay? I've been talking about this for a little bit on the podcast about one of my biggest journeys, one of my biggest goals as of late, and that's swimming. I came into this year just not knowing how to swim, and every single year it would be one of my goals, and I'd put it out there and I wouldn't do it. And when I really think back on that, like, why the heck did I not do it? Honestly, it came down to ego. It came down to ego. Every single time I would think about it, every single time I would start to want to dive into learning how to swim, ego cropped up. And I'm like, well, I want to find a private pool, right? I want to find a private pool where a bunch of people aren't going to see this 38-year-old guy flailing around in the swimming pool, not knowing how to swim. Yeah, I want to find a pool where no one can see me. I want to find a pool where I can just kind of figure my own thing out. I want to find a coach that that understands me, and someone who I really can cooperate with and stuff like that. And all I was thinking about there was me. All I was thinking about there was, how is this going to impact me? How is this going to minimize damage to my ego? Not, how is this helping me step into my true self? Who is the true self? The true self that I am and that I want to become more and more is someone who takes calculated but rewarding risks and not sits there and wishes I did something. I want to become even more, the person who is not afraid to do insanely hard things, even if they're hard things that I haven't been able to do my whole life, like swimming, right? I don't want to be the person who shies away from those hard things. I don't want to be the person who's afraid to do something hard because I've never been able to figure it out before. And so when I start to look at those things, I say, you know what? That ego of not wanting to be embarrassed, of not wanting to be compared to other people, needs to take a back seat to the person I want to become. That ego is preventing me from helping my children be safer around the water. We have a swimming pool and we live in the river, and that's something I think about every year is, man, what would happen if I couldn't dive in the water and save my kids? That would be the most excruciating thing I could ever imagine in my life right now, is making the choice to let my own ego get in the way of being able to have a life-saving skill for my kids and for other people around me. It's not about me learning how to swim for fun. It's about me learning how to swim for life, for life, okay? For protecting other people, and for having the most rich life I possibly can in stepping into my true self. And so, guys, find out where ego stop, and you find out where ego is the enemy, and step into your true self, y'all. All right, have an amazing, amazing rest of the day. I'm probably going to hammer out a few more life truths in this episode and batch some of my content here, like I teach all of you to do. But I'm flying to Charleston, South Carolina. Hopefully I'll see some of you there in Charleston. And this year, y'all, I'm going to be traveling quite a bit more. I'm going to be down in Dallas, I believe, at the Investor Fuel Mastermind. I've got some other trips planned as well. I'm coming out of my cave that I was in, and many people were in over this past year. So I appreciate you guys being an outlet for me to share where I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm winning, I'm losing. And just so appreciate the Carrot community for all that you do for your communities, your families, and honestly for us. You pump me up, you excite me, you make me want to continue to come back to work and challenge myself to grow, to help make a greater impact. I could sell this company tomorrow for more money than I ever imagined I could have. But you know what? That's not my true self. That's ego. That's being able to show a big L or a big win on my books, and being able to show, that, man, I have this money. But you know what? That is fully ego. That's going to slow me down. That's going to actually hold me back from helping more people. So, guys, if you like this episode, if you like this series, find me on IG, Trevor.Mauch. That's Mauch. Follow me over there on Instagram, y'all. I chart my journey over there, but hit me with a DM. I get these things every single week from people, and it motivates me. It fires me up. I reply back to all of my own Instagram DMs. I try to get to them all. I don't get to every single one of them, but most of them I do. And so hit me with the DM. Let me know how you're liking these life truths. Which ones are hitting you hard? what types of things you want to learn, where can I improve. Guys, we're in this together. Have an amazing rest of the week. Subscribe and give us a review. We'll talk soon.